Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have a super special treat. I have a double combo, double whammy of two phenomenal ladies, Nicole and Beverly. They're wonderful ladies. They have a beautiful mission, but most importantly, they have hearts of gold. Nicole, I love her mission. Our mission is to go within so you don't go without. Beverly, equally awesome mission. Be the best you can be. They're both energy workers, light workers, psychic, authors, speakers, and we can go on and on. Even we're just talking before that, and I would also like to add miracle workers, miracle makers, rain makers, whatever you want. Angels, leaders with a heart. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure is all mine. So before we start, one by one, starting with Beverly. Who's Beverly for people who don't know you?
Say that again.
Who's Beverly for people who don't know you?
Oh gosh, she's just I like to look at myself as being completely unique from everyone else because each and every one of us is unique, just like a snowflake, right? And oh gosh, I have been on this planet like for an extended period of time, so I've had quite a lot of adventures. For me, I travel a lot because that's the adventure that I enjoy. Spread the word around the universe and around the globe, and just really living life to its fullest. Uh, I guess I'm a daredevil. I'll try anything
Wow.
at least once. If I don't like it, I won't do it again. But if I like it, I'll keep doing it. So, gosh, what else? I come from an awful big family. There's 11 of us.
Really? Wow. You're the second lady I have at my podcast at 11 siblings. So which one are you? Are you at the
I'm
start?
second,
The
second
second.
oldest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The one,
And
the
so
one,
we got to go ahead.
the one I had, she's from California. She was the last of 11 children. Her mother was 105 years old, but still kicking and going strong. We had an absolutely amazing, one of the most funnest conversation I had. Absolutely phenomenal lady. So, yeah, wow.
Yeah, I have to really say it's an honor to be in the family I'm in because for as many as we are, we're still very close, and we're down into third generation, which is really fun. It's just sitting back and watching all the action and the activity and the growth, and it's things like that, family, that mean a lot. Because without family, things kind of get estranged, and life is too short. So having that forgiveness and that gratitude and just keeping everything in alignment and keeping it uplifted and light and happy is what life should be all about. And so when you adventure, just go out in nature because nature is the
Absolutely.
answer to everything, right?
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question, Beverly. What it's like to be the second of an 11 sibling family?
Uh I could say the original, it's a second syndrome or whatever, but uh it's a good spot to be. I wouldn't want to be my older sister
Why
because
not?
she had a lot of responsibility. It's like, well, you
Yes.
got to help take care of the younger ones, right? And it's like me, I'm the troublemaker, and so I gave her a run for her money. um you know but it's interesting how you begin to perceive your siblings differently. Like, my youngest sister is 1 year older than my oldest son, so for
Wow.
me, she is more of a daughter to me than she
Sure.
is a sister, because she spent so much time with my kids that actually our relatives thought that Karen was one of mine instead of my sister. And so my kids, grew up together with her. So they actually look at her as being a sister as well instead of their aunt. So it's interesting to watch the dynamics of what happens with the
Sure.
first half and how they perceived life with mom and dad, and the second half and how they perceived it. Completely different worlds. But
Oh,
so
wow.
I wouldn't trade it. I really wouldn't.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure you must have a lot of amazing, funny, incredible stories to share that would make up for for. I mean, writing a book would be a no-brainer. Have you thought about that?
Oh, I've got several books out there already. I
Wow.
haven't done one on my life, per se, the autobiography, but yeah, it might be like an encyclopedia. It could be a whole set,
Because the other lady
but
that I had she was the last of 11 kids, and she was saying that she took, being the last, she took a little bit of each of her siblings' characters and traits. Would you say the same about you?
it is interesting. We are all so individual and unique, as I
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, but to watch and to interact with those siblings in their perception,
Mhm.
sometimes when you're in a conversation and, people bring up a different event and whatever, and you're listening to how they describe that event and you're thinking, I'm not sure I was even at the same event because it was so different. You
Yeah.
so you're getting it, and all of us kids, for 11 of us, we do all get together
Wow.
um almost at once a year. The majority of us are together and stuff, but so it is interesting to just relive some of those old memories and to listen to the experiences and how they were all interpreted, because I swear it's not even like you were at the same place, because
Sure.
it's the mind state that you're in, it's the emotional state that you're in, it's your belief system, your database, how you interpret, an event. It's quite hilarious at times.
I can imagine. Wow, phenomenal. Very interesting. Nicole, how about you? Are you also the second of a 15 children family?
No, no. There was only three of us. Now there's only
Okay.
two of us, and we are not close. So our dynamic is absolutely different.
All right.
And yeah, yeah, it is small. We were not raised in the farm, raised in the city, basically raised ourselves. So we didn't have that comfort. So it's so funny because Beverly and I are kind of like yin and yang on some things, but so similar in other ways. But you can tell everybody's got that different upbringing, right? So I was the youngest. I didn't get the opportunities that the two older children got. Um, you know, Kind of forgotten about, but that's okay. I make up for it now, right? I get the attention that I need, but I get good attention now.
So
So.
you brought up a good point. You said you're the youngest. You didn't have the same opportunities you feel like, but me, I'm the eldest. I feel that I was, to be fair, objective, I was pretty spoiled as the first one. We are four. So which is better, to be the first or the last or the middle? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I think for me it just depends on your family dynamic,
Mhm.
right? So if you have, to me it sounds like for Beverly, she's got this better dynamic because there's always somebody there. There's always a brother, a sister, or maybe a mom or dad at some point that can be there. Somebody's always cycling back.
Sure.
Where even just with the three of us, there was nobody there. But that, so we all kind of raised ourselves in different ways, and to come back and have that disconnect because we didn't have a family dynamic, we didn't have anybody home, so it was kind of an absentee, way more than a latchkey kid, where we came home and nobody's there for a couple days. So it's that quiet time, but I look forward to quiet time. So different dynamic, different social structure,
Mhm.
but I do enjoy the quiet time and the alone time. So that is one
Sure.
thing that I learned is I have no problem, being in silence. I think it's a beautiful thing.
I would
Well,
definitely agree with that too. That silence is golden.
oh
And
yes. Oh
I
yeah.
would not want to be the youngest one, because it's always, oh, you're the baby of the family, you're the baby. And I just like cringe at that word. I don't want to be called a baby, you know? And to be the oldest one, it's like now they look up at you to be the responsible one. And it's
Yeah.
like, I am the rebel. So I will just stay at number two and enjoy it. Right?
Yeah, number two is a good spot to be in because you don't have as many responsibilities as number one. So there's perks and cons for sure.
Yeah, there are.
Awesome. So you guys are like the yang and the yin. How did you guys meet? How do you guys connect?
Oh my gosh. So I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was at a networking event, which wasn't my thing. My social structure wasn't the way Beverly's was. So learning how to have friends and meet people, was a big fear of mine. So I thought, okay, I'm going to conquer this fear because it's the hardest thing for me. Go out and network. Well, in Vegas, networking after 4 o'clock is basically cocktail hour. So you're just
After
chit chatting.
4 o'clock? Is that after 11 a.m.?
Well, it's all day. It's all day. You know, things have kind of changed a little bit out here. It's not as obvious. Your coffee cup or your Collins glass, right? A little bit different. So, I was ready to leave. I was there for about an hour, and I'm ready to leave and head out the door. And the next thing, I turn around and there's Beverly. She wasn't there before. She just popped out of nowhere, and she's like,
See?
"Hi, I'm Beverly."
Magician. She appears,
Yep.
she shows up just like this.
She'll pop out of nowhere, and so we just started talking. And we were talking about essential oils, I think, at the time, Beverly, right?
I think that was the first
yes.
conversation that come up. Yeah.
So we just started talking, and I know she wasn't there before because I had been looking at that door because I was ready to exit and run out, and so I had the exit staked out, and I was ready to leave, and I put my glass down. I turn around, and there she came out of nowhere.
Maybe she came from a magical door. Like a
That's
hidden door,
okay.
secret door.
A secret door, a different dimension, what
A
have
portal from beyond.
Yeah.
Right?
So, that's kind of how we met. And we still, we still do things together, but, we both have that commonality of herbs, essential oils, magic, whatever, personal magic, mind magic, mental magic. We're both psychic and we're both light workers. So we just really connected. And then we just decided to collaborate because here we're doing the same thing. Even though she's in Oregon and I'm in Las Vegas, through the magic of Zoom, we can do things together.
Absolutely. Now, there's a lot of material that we can cover, and we're going to do that in a moment. But before you do that, I'd like to ask you some more, question to get to know you guys at the personal level. So first of all, what makes you happy? Let's start with Nicole.
Oh, for me, it's going up to Mount Charleston and
Ooh.
just being alone with the trees, the cool air,
Mhm.
the fresh air, and just hiking,
Nice.
just going for miles and just walking, just connecting to nature. That makes me absolutely happy.
Yeah, the area in Vegas is pretty nice, but you have to do it when it's not extremely hot.
Right, right. Well, Mount Charleston is 40 degrees cooler at all
Oh,
times.
wow. Okay. Nice.
So
Awesome.
when it's 120 out here and it's about 40% humidity, then you drive up to Mount Charleston and go hang out for a while under a tree.
I'm sure once you venture into the desert, especially at night, you can see some phenomenal sights of the stars in the Milky Way. Eh?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Once you drive outside from all the lights and all that smog and you clear that, and it's just your mental state changes too, right? And so you go out at night and you're just looking at the stars. It's the most beautiful thing ever.
Perfect place to meditate and just relax and all that. Oh yeah, that's on my bucket list to go there and just stargaze. That's amazing. Yeah. Bev, how about you? Beverly, what makes you happy?
I just have to say ditto to Nicole because for me, nature is where it's at. And I love being out in nature and just kind of molding into it, do that like shape shifting. You just become one with nature and meditate and just let the rest of the world go. I used to do that as a kid where I would, sometimes you want that escape, And so I would go and I'd lay in my favorite tree and then I'd just go off and I'd start flying with the birds. And so for me, it's the same. It's nature. That's my go-to every time.
Love that. Yeah. What makes you guys smile?
Yeah, being on shows like this,
Oh, thank you. Yeah. How about you, Nicole?
Me, what makes me smile is really just having connection,
Mhm.
being with people, and I'm a joker. So I like to just smile at simple things that people do. It's fun, not in a bad way, but you laugh at experiences and moments. Maybe it's the dog, maybe it's your kids. Just little things that make you laugh. Somebody's dressing up, or the dog's chasing its tail, or you just those things make me smile. Those little moments that you're really not supposed to notice, and you do. And those are the fun things. Enjoying that moment and just
Mhm.
having that peaceful time, because laughter brings your energy up. It increases
Totally.
your energy level, and it breaks through so much. It's almost like drumming, that belly laugh, right? Just laughing and sharing a moment with someone.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because for me, I strongly believe that laughing and smiling are probably the most powerful, medicine in the world, because it really bring, I saw a quote not long ago that said that if every doctor in the world were to prescribe 1 hour of mandatory laughing and smiling to every person in the world, within a month 95% of all the ailments would disappear.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
if you look at it, if you
yeah,
look at the root of it, 90% of all the diseases are due to what? To stress. And when you
Yep.
smile, when you laugh, then you don't have the time to stress about. That removes your stress. So even for me, I make it a point each day at least to watch 1 hour of comedy, whether it's cartoons, funny clips, whatever, just so I can laugh, I can smile. And that does tremendous, has a tremendous effect on you, on your physiognomy and physiology, and how you feel, how you react. It turns your day around. Even if you're feeling really bad, just go on YouTube, pop on some cartoons, even Tom and Jerry, whatever, or some funny thing, you will feel totally different.
That's
yeah,
huge. That's huge, because when you allow that moment to happen, and people get so serious about stuff,
Yeah.
when you allow that moment to happen and you just laugh about it instead of
Mhm.
choosing to get frustrated, you know, maybe you put your keys somewhere and you were looking for them for a little while, and you realized, oh, I moved them over just a few inches and they're one placed
Sure.
in my purse, perhaps. And then you kind of laugh. Well, why is that the last place you look? Because you don't need to look any further, and you're happy that you found them. And it's just that moment where you're like, sometimes humans, we do silly things. And so laugh at it and share with that with somebody else.
Yeah.
I like to look what I did today. Oh, that was kind of funny. I made a little bit of a mistake, or I made a different choice, and let's laugh at it instead of, being so serious. It's when people stop you from saying that's funny or taking it so personal, that's when you begin that stress and that anger, and then that relationship becomes painful, and it's a deep partner in pain relationship, instead of laughing and having a good time sharing a joke.
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah. If
absolutely.
you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at,
Exactly.
right? Yeah,
Exactly. I mean, another powerful thing about laughing and smiling is that, the most powerful business card in the world is a genuine warm smile. Because when you go to an event, we receive, say, tens, sometimes hundreds, especially if you go to a conference, you get maybe 50, 80 business card in a day. And by the time you get back to your hotel or your place, you have no idea who that person is. But instead, if you greet someone with a genuine, the most warmest smile, they will remember that. They will remember you, because you made their day that day. And for me, that's why from now, I mean, I actually did an experiment. One day I was living in Hong Kong for a number of years. So I attended a lot of events, especially for e-commerce and manufacturing, especially conferences. So I did one time I did an experiment. Day one, I just went with business card normally. I gave my business card. I got a lot of business card, but I couldn't remember anyone. Day two, I went without any business card. All I did was just greet the person with the warmest, happiest smile. Hey, how are you? How's your day? And believe it or not, they remembered me. They remembered me.
Awesome.
They reached out to me. They sent me an email or a text after that. Hey, love talking to you. Uh, because that's something that not many people do that. Because one thing that I keep on saying, doesn't matter what type of business you're in, whether you're a coach, e-commerce, or even selling hot dogs and ice cream down the street. We're all in the same business. We're in the people's business. People love doing business with people they can connect and relate. And one of the best ways to connect is through smiling, laughing. So for me, laughing and smiling is something that is probably one of the most powerful thing we can do every day. And if we do just 1 hour of laughing and smiling each day, it doesn't have to be all at once. Maybe divide it in two, half an hour in the morning, half an hour at night, and just see the difference for you. It's going to make wonders in your life.
I go for a walk every night, and there's a lot of people, especially now because it's cooling down a little bit here in Oregon. And um, I always make it a point to smile at somebody going
Yes,
by or saying hi, somebody sitting out on their porch,
yeah,
to say hi and smile.
same here.
And sometimes you get response back, and other times, people just go on like they're so
Let them
oblivious
be.
to what's around them. But
Yeah,
hey, it's okay, right? It
do
put a
your part,
smile on my face. And so,
We
but I
smile.
agree with everything that you've been saying.
We
It's,
smile
it's
not only to make others feel happy, but most importantly, we smile to make ourselves happy. You know.
right.
So if you smile, if you let's say you walk on the street, or for me, I bike a lot. I see people. I make my smile. I say hi, good morning. If they respond, that's awesome. If they don't, that's fine. I still made myself smile and happy.
Right.
Awesome. That's
Right.
come on, that's awesome. I love that. So what makes you guys come alive? Beverly.
Breathing oxygen every day,
Ooh, that's for sure.
you talk about the smiles and the laughing, but we have to remember, you know, you can live without a lot of things, but you can't live without oxygen, right? And so that deep breathing, to be able to open up that chest and just breathe in that oxygen, and also what that does, it brings every cell alive,
Mhm.
and it just invigorates and inspires. And we were talking before the show, working out and running and bicycling and all of that, anything that can project that breath to come in even more stronger, because most people are shallow breathers. And what happens with a shallow breather is a lot of lung problems start to show up because you're not getting that oxygen down. And when the blood leaves the heart, it crosses the lower part of the lung. And if it's full of gunk because it's just been sitting there and hasn't had oxygen or anything to it, you don't get your body filled with oxygen. So breathing and opening that diaphragm is
Mhm.
really, really good. A lot of people are at desks and they sit like this,
Yeah, I know.
mind, spread it out, and just really
Exactly.
straighten that up so that that oxygen can come through. So, um, I think, so what makes you live is having that great oxygen to make you feel good all over, get that blood circulating, but then living your passion, walking in your lane, doing
Mhm.
and feeling fulfilled in what it is that makes you tick. You asked us some questions, what makes you happy and all this kind of stuff. I think all of that kind of comes together because I have a saying, if you're not living, you're dying,
Absolutely.
right? And so what creates those activities of things that you do? And for me, it's just out there adventuring. Every day is an adventure. Every breath is an adventure. And you never know when that last breath is going to happen. So make the most of everything in every day and every moment. So
Love that powerful message. How about you, Nicole? What makes you come alive?
Exercising, absolutely. Whether it's you're getting on the treadmill or you're lifting some weights in the gym, you're taking, whether I'm taking a walk, a hike, there's somewhere down by my house where I can just walk out the door and go by. There's a creek. I know it's Vegas, but there's a creek there, and they man-made it, turned it into an area of reprieve where there's plenty of trees and birds, and walking, that makes me feel alive. It makes me feel present and awake, just getting into that and breathing, like Beverly said, breathing. But I don't have to think. Remember, if I'm having a moment, I can listen to a podcast, or I can just listen to nature. But just allowing myself to get out there and to get mobile and to get moving, that's that moment, because it's my time. And there's just me, or there's the people in the gym, or if I'm with my workout partner, and just having that escape, that's that moment. feeling good after that and hitting past that plateau or that breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
And just, can I lift 5 more pounds? Can I do 1 more rep out of 25?
Oh, yes.
Right? That's that challenge, that personal challenge, and that breathing and that heaviness, because it's that kind of personal push or even competition of yourself in a sense. I can push past that. Whether somebody's challenging you, like, oh, you only got 10 more. I faded out 5 reps ago, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it regardless. I'm going to do it till I pass out. And sometimes that's okay because you're challenging yourself and it feels so good. And I'm that person, that warrior competition. I've got to have that. That's my personal thing. Everybody's a little bit different.
Sure.
And I've got to have that push, that bigger push, so I can push myself a little bit more at other times, or even rest, listening to myself and being awake. And that gives me that point, because otherwise I'm in that hustle and bustle in the city and I've got no patience, and I can't get through my day. Why? Because I haven't just worked out. I haven't, lifted that heavy weight, which challenges us. Martial arts too, or yoga. It challenges you in that moment to be able to get through even that traffic jam. So that, for me, I got to do that. It lets me get through the rest of my day.
Love that. Now, what makes you guys sad and angry? Nicole, go for it.
Um,
Good. I gotta think about that one.
I got a list. No, really. I used to have a list. I used to be that angry person. So it was anything and everything. But now it's that for me, I'm really big into self-leadership and leadership. That's really my background. And so what makes me angry is that watching people not taking advantage or control and commanding their life, self-influencing, taking the moment for themselves, kind of armchair quarterbacking on the TV what people should do, but you can't bring that into your life. You can't bring that self-leadership into your life. You want something, you want a better life, and you talk about it. Why not take it? And that's why I call myself the sabotage smasher. I want you to move past it. You said you wanted this, well, take advantage. And if 2020 has taught us anything, is to take advantage of the moment. Be there, be in awareness. Just do it. Take that plunge, jump off the cliff, take the leap. And for me, that's very important. And to watching people who have opportunities that ask for it and don't take it. That is an anger point, and that's a personal thing. But, that's why I'm a coach, so I could teach you that. And to share that and being into that. And I want that, and anger is from that heart, right? And so it's that fear that if we don't all work and we don't all take that next step, that we won't all make it to the next level, and that we'll be forgotten about in the greater consciousness. So watching that and being an empathic person or a psychic, I can see that in people. You see that, you're not being challenged. Just take the moments in front of you. Take that free cup of coffee. Let somebody open the door for you. Take that moment for yourself and being gratitude about it. Don't fight it and don't push it away. I can do it myself. Don't do that. Live life. That's very much, otherwise we can talk about all day, here's these things, but we ask for it. We tell everybody, we scream with our bullhorns, and everybody's triggered. Let's move past it. Why not be triumphant?
Love that. Wow, powerful message. What about you, Beverly? What makes you sad and angry?
I would say excuses.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what's going on in the world? It's like, you meet those that no matter what it is, like Nicole was saying, they're asking for something. It's coming up, it's showing in their life. And they always have an excuse as to why they're not putting it into action, why they're not taking the steps to move forward. Well, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or I don't know, it's kind of scary, it's different. And, I mean, I have heard so many insane excuses. And again, it goes back to that, if you're not living, you're dying. Well, if you're making excuses, you might as well be dead because you're not creating any action and you're going to get stale and stagnant, and then the stinking thinking takes over. So cut with the excuses. Just
Yeah.
do, you know, and there's no right or wrong. Just do it. Be a Nike, right? Just do it. So that's one of the things that just kind of irk me, It's like, how can you do this? And then common sense. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I wonder where people, were born and raised and what they did is there's no common sense whatsoever, and that I think may come with just the sign of the times
Hmm.
and way too much technology out there, all that spent, with that time in the face of technology. It's great, but it's just kind of takes away from that interaction and that connecting with people. And when you have common sense, and street smart is better than book smart by
Oh,
far because
absolutely.
we live in this lifestyle thing. So making common sense and start using it also, I think, builds resilience and gives you an opportunity to not just survive, but to thrive. And so when you can bring common sense into it, get away from the excuses, don't think everything has to be perfect because there's nothing's going to be perfect except me. So there you go.
Whoa,
Right. So
what's the secret?
not
But
everybody can be
yeah.
like me. Right. So there you
Right.
go. So just be yourself and just really start to pay attention is to, like Nicole was saying, if you're the people that are running from the things that they're asking for are generating excuses as to why. And again, that I think probably goes back into that being responsible because if I can blame it on somebody else, then that works better, right? Because I don't want to find myself. Of course, I'm not going to blame myself for anything, but it's that responsibility thing. So
So
there
would you
you go.
say, what would you say, speaking of excuses, because what would you say is the root cause of why people make excuses, knowing that they need to do it, they have to do it, but and they can do it, but they still come up with all kind of excuses. What do you think is the
I
major
would
reason for
say
coming up with excuses?
I would say it's probably the fear on the other side, the fear of the
Hmm.
unknown, right? Because it's like when somebody makes an excuse, I always say, "Well, why?
Yeah,
Why not? Why would you be afraid to try?" Yeah, well, it's like, no, I really don't know. So it isn't, right? And it's always, yeah, well, what if it doesn't work? Yeah, but what if it does? Right?
exactly. The power of questions. Ask the right questions.
Well,
Yeah, and
the other thing is at some point, I wonder, having worked with people in volunteering and worked with people on different levels, even in a corporate structure, are you lazy because you don't want to make an excuse? Is it really fear? Or you just don't want to try and you want to allow somebody else to make that decision for you?
Hmm.
And in that structure of life, are you able to command it? Because you don't have to make a decision if you're totally set, like on the electronics. You don't have to make a decision if you're set on Facebook. You don't have to make any decision because they make it for you. you know are you making a decision to get up in the morning? Are you making a decision to take care of the temple of your body? Are you making a decision to breathe into your lungs? Make a decision, because not making a decision is still a decision, and now you're allowing someone else to control your life and tell you what to do.
Hmm.
exactly.
Absolutely. Love that. Wow. What scares you?
What scares me? I'd have to say nothing.
Not
Because
even the dark or spiders or snakes?
no, no, the song "I Don't Like Spiders and Snakes." No, I'm not a fan of spiders. I'm not a fan of crawling bugs. Snakes, I have no problem with. Mice, I have no problem with. But I'm not as scared of them, right? And I've been in the dark. Probably when I was younger, there were things, but as I moved through life, to me, everything's an adventure. What's out there in that darkness? Someplace in this darkness, there's a light. Well, the moon's not shining tonight, so I guess it's not the light up there, but always looking at the light inside because I know that I am safe with me, myself, and I because I've worked really, really hard to make sure that I'm united I've worked with techniques to where I can actually make myself invisible. So when you're invisible, nothing can touch you, right? And so for me, I would say, nothing really scares me.
Wow. You indeed are a magician. How about you, Nicole? What scares you?
I
On
scare
a
her.
Really? Tell us
no.
about that.
No, go ahead.
Um, yeah, I think, for me, the scariness is not being able to make a decision.
Mm,
That is a scary thing. Not being able to make a decision on my life or my business or my family. And that's that was from, at a young age, not being able to have that decision making skill as a child to get out of a situation or to even take a choice to move into a good situation. And I think it's very important for us to have choices. That's a big thing. That is always scary when it's not my choice. If I, when to go to work or when to wake up, or did I take a choice for this meeting? That's still a choice. That's my decision.
absolutely.
And wherever I go, I want to make that choice because I love having choices. And because you try new things when you do. If I choose to go out on a hike, or if I choose to go on a vacation and meet people, just talk to people, that's another choice that I've made, to share life and to experience life.
Absolutely. Choices are powerful. And when you make a choice, it can even empower you depending on the choice.
Yeah.
Sure can.
Now, what would you say is your personal superpower? Beverly,
My superpower. Oh,
your number one. I
only
know
one.
you're blessed with many superpowers. What would you say your number one superpower?
Number one superpower is my ability to actually read a person, get the feel of who they are,
Mhm.
why they are, and you do that through your senses, through your knowing sense, your feel, the emotions that they portray, the touch, the sound, all of that comes together and brings the package, and to be able to pay attention, around your activities, everything that comes across your past, there's a message in everything. So I would say probably my greatest superpower is to be able to sense and pick up on my surroundings and listen for the message that's being delivered either for myself or for someone else, and know the difference between it.
Amazing. Wow. How about you, Nicole? What's your superpower? Your number one superpower?
I would say that's just that healing ability, that energy, being in that light body, absolutely being in mediumship or channeling, being able to channel that energy, and share it with others. Really being able to hone it and work with people. That's a magical gift. It's a powerful gift.
Would you say that's a gift that you were born with, something that you had to learn and hone with experience over the years?
No, that's something I was born with, but we all
Wow.
have to learn how to adapt it. And
Hmm.
that's, what I feel that we're here for is, for me, that experience was to learn where it fits in this third dimension on this planet. Where does this ability fit? Because you can, many people deny themselves that faith and trust, and they don't have that belief. And in that moment of doing that, you forget all of your wisdom, all of your ancient wisdom. What is your life about? What is your purpose? And when you're not living your soul's purpose, you are in fact basically dying or just getting through the time right now, just moving through the day.
You just said something very powerful about finding your purpose. How do you have any tips on how to for someone that's watching? How do they go about finding the purpose, the mission, the reason for being here in this lifetime, on this planet, at this specific moment?
That their purpose, that's, what do you feel called to do? What's really your heart's calling? And that's a lot of what, many of us right now are working with, for clients, that we've found ourselves is, what are we denying our soul's purpose? You're not driving. It's a business with a heart. So if you develop a business without a heart, there's some failure in there, or
Totally.
you don't feel that you're doing enough for the world. But but the main part is, at a small dynamic, is, are you doing enough for yourself? Because there's so many of us that feel, oh, I've got to serve the world. Well, you can't serve the world unless you serve yourself.
Absolutely.
So don't go to that big dynamic, and we look outside of ourselves to find that service, but that's not what's truly in the heart space. You have to fill that heart space and find what drives you, and then when you're able to bring that passion to yourself, then you can bring that to other people. That'll make you smile, that'll help your service, that'll help your gratitude.
Love that. Now, we're going to talk about it in a moment, but let me ask you now a couple of fun questions. When we're kids, especially when we're in primary school, middle school, people always ask us, starting with you, Beverly. So, Beverly, what do you want to be? What do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
What was my answer back then? I would say I wanted to be a cowboy, right?
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah, you have to remember now, when you're talking here, this was a long time ago. So I grew up in Iowa on a farm, right? And when I was in that age bracket, that was back in the 50s, okay? And so the whole dynamic of what was available in your database of information. My dad's family lived in Montana, so we would go out there every year. And Montana is different from Iowa, big time, and so it's like I loved riding horses. I loved being out in nature. I loved, all of the hiking and the mountain climbing and all of that kind of stuff, right? And so it was like, yeah, I just want to be a cowboy. Not a cowgirl, a cowboy. Okay. I was
Wow.
a tomboy, and I guess that's probably that little piece that's still in me, the masculine side of who I am, is still riding that horse out there in the open range. One of my bucket lists is to get nude, ride on a horse bareback along the ocean. So,
Wow.
so I think that probably goes back into, yeah, I just want to be that cowboy.
That's amazing.
Freedom.
Yeah,
That's
freedom.
total freedom.
Is very
Oh yes,
important to me
it's
too.
liberating
It's
when you're riding that horse and the open space. Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
What about you, Nicole? What did you want to become when you were? What was your answer back then as a kid?
When I was a kid, I really, there was different things. Like I'd want to be a ballerina or an astronaut or a
Wow.
news anchor for some reason. you know, Getting my hair done. That was so funny. But just to try something different every time, be able to have that experience. It was never just one thing, but to be in that moment, to be present in that power, and just really have that creation. When I played, or little kid, have a tea party, have my stuffed animals. I lived in the city, so I didn't really have anything to compare with nature at the time and to go out. But it was just always, really Barbie oriented, because Barbie you could always dress her up and she could be
Sure.
whatever, right? She was a race car driver, or she was an astronaut, or, whatever. It was just creative in the moment, trying it all.
Absolutely. Now, what would you say was your favorite subject in school, especially in middle school and high school, Nicole?
Oh, for me in school, I wasn't in school a lot. I was really sick. So I didn't have a favorite subject, and I dropped out when I was young. But when I went back into high school after being sick for so long, I really liked woodworking. I
Wow.
took automotive, took woodworking, those kind of creative skills, hands-on, tactile function, focusing, being able to create something bigger, especially in automotive, you're bringing something to life. You're bringing something that is purely just metal, and you would think, because I didn't know and understand that it was all energy, but for me, it was the creation of taking something apart and building it back up, and then starting it up and bringing life to it.
Awesome. Love that. Now, how about you, Beverly? What was your favorite
Oh
subject in
gosh.
school?
Well, first off, I hated school. I fought my way through 12 years of parochial school, the nuns, the whole
Oh,
enchilada.
wow. Okay.
But back then it was interesting because what was being taught and offered in parochial school was not the same thing offered in public schools, right?
Sure.
And what was offered to boys weren't offered to girls, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I want to do that. But I would have to
So
say,
sorry. So back then, were the girls and boys separated in school, or were they together?
no, we were together.
Okay.
But in high school, like I wanted to take shop, right? Oh no, you got to take home ec. Well, why do I got to take home ec? I mean, I've been cooking since I was 4, and I've been sewing since I was 4. It's like I don't want to do that, but it wasn't allowed, right? You couldn't play football. Well, I played football all my life because most of my cousins my age were boys. But as far as a subject, I would probably say if I had to choose one, would be geometry. They don't, or not geometry, excuse me, geology,
Oh,
right?
wow.
They they don't really teach that anymore. Now they call it, I don't know.
Maybe
They have some
geography.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's separated. But geography is because I loved travel. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it fascinated me to be able to read about Egypt and read about Africa, go on a safari and climb these buildings and just, spend time in the ocean and ancient times. And so for me, geography was probably my favorite because it could take me out of where I was and into like another world.
Around the world.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. For me too, geography was by far my favorite subject in school, for the same reason about travel. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's move forward. So from the moment you both finished school up to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say that once you get into one line, one lane, was it straight sailing, smooth forward all the way, or was it like turns and twists along the way? So
Oh, it
Beverly, you want to
definitely
start?
wasn't straightforward. Oh my gosh. Okay, I mentioned I was a little rebel, right? And so whenever my mom told me I needed to do something, I would do just the opposite. But again, it goes back into that identity. The
Mhm.
identity I had as a child growing up and whatever shifted once I ended up in a marriage, right? And 4 years into that marriage was I had lost identity. It was all by association. Oh, you're so and so's mom, or you're so and so's wife, or you're the one who writes for the newspaper, or, it's like I didn't even have a name anymore. I'm like, I didn't know who I was. This is not where I was supposed to be. And I put myself into just a real deep state of depression to the point of actually being on the edge of suicide.
Wow.
And so that was when I went out, and you talked earlier about anger. Oh my gosh. Back then, there was a lot of enclosed anger. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to give God a piece of my mind, right? I'm just going to let it all loose before I decide to slit my throat or whatever the choice I was going to do to eliminate myself from the planet. I just let loose for about 90 minutes to exhaustion. Things got quiet. This was midnight on a gravel road. Well, it's quiet out there. And I hear this voice say, who's going to take care of your kids if you're not here? And I had 3 of them under the age of 5. It's like, oh crap. That means I got to hang around for a long time, because I heard my dad's voice say, you better figure out how you can take care of those kids, because your mother and I aren't going to. We got enough of our own. Well, 11 kids. Yeah. So, and I didn't want to be in my mother's footsteps. That's for sure. So it's like, all right, if I'm going to have to hang around, I'm going to make this deal. So I gave God this list a mile long. It says, okay. It's like, all right, so how do I do this? And the voice just says, mind over matter. Well, come on, little country girl. Back in 1974, there was nothing like there is here today. Mind over matter. It's like, well, what the heck is that? Right. And then the voice just says, start living your life for you and your kids. Find out who you are, what makes you tick, and become that. So I did. That was easy. And that's what I did. And I began to really understand what it meant to have your true identity and to clear what doesn't serve purpose. And everything that I had on that list came into fruition. You know, in 79, I moved to Denver, started a 6-figure business, spent there 9 years doing that, and then moved to Vegas, started another business that went into 6 figures. And that's when I really, really got into the metaphysics and the healing and the psyche, because the business in Denver was an automotive business, and it was a man's business. I was my cowboy, but I was an automotive cowboy. Okay. You know, so, but it was spent with that, and I could relate more to men than I did to women at the time. But I was introduced to the energy work and the psychic stuff with civil mind control. That got my mind going. So then when I moved to Vegas and got involved with people in the metaphysical, in crystals, and then in oils and all of that stuff, in 97, I sold the business that I had created, and I went on the road living my passion and really experiencing the truth and the fulfillment of who I was, you know. So in a lot of cases, to find out what that path is to get rid of the things that you're not. Then it's much easier to see what that purpose is, and then take the movement to follow that path and fulfill it.
Love that. Wow. Must have been quite a journey.
Oh yeah, it ain't over yet.
Oh,
So-
absolutely not. I know. It's only getting started. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to be around till I'm 200. See, I'm only 45. So I'm
200.
going to be around to.
Let's make it 500. You're
Okay,
a miracle maker, right? You're a healer. So
Okay, I'll go for 500. You going to hang
All right.
around and be there with me? So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
all right, you're on.
All right. How about
Game
you,
on.
Nicole? How would you describe your past from the time you left school to now? Would you say it was straightforward, or was it like like a roller
Oh,
coaster?
well, it moved, you know. So when I was young, we used to go into clear houses. So kind of like the Ghostbusters back in the day. That was really big at the time. You know, go in, clear houses, get rid of that energy work. But um, and I was lucky enough to have met Marcel Vogel, who was the scientist from IBM that had studied the crystals and how they connect now in our computers and all that energy, and how the crystal is in our phone and everywhere else. So he was learning about that energy, and then started using it for healing and put the connection there. And that made a big imprint on my life, even though at the time, when I was little, you know, it was could turned into a negative experience clearing the houses, because we didn't have anything we didn't do work with anything of blessings or calling in the light or doing any prayers or, you know, any type of protection whatsoever for ourselves. So that was a negative road that I went on. But, you know, became a teenage mom, and that was my claim to fame, to be on that, be the welfare mother. But I went back to school. You know, I went into became a hairdresser, and then, you know, realized, okay, I'm done playing with the pretty things. And so then I went into the police academy, something totally different that I would have never seen in my life. But it was that developing that strength and that courage to make decisions, to command and control my life, and to be in the present moment. And that gave me a lot of, you know, being able to have boundaries, being able to see, be awake, being able to see. Now I've merged that together. So no, it wasn't a straight path. You know, so you know, merging that together in how I speak to people, how I read people, what is my education, what is it telling me? That's that theory of relativity, in the sense of it's relative to your experience, it's relative to who you are, to what you witness. And as a witnesser, and as a person who worked, one of my special gifts is really working through that chaos. So working through that dark moment and seeing that chaos and being able to clear that for people, for myself, in that really deep, dark moment, which also
How do you
led
do
me
that?
to be,
How do you do that? How do you clear the chaos? Do you have a system? Do you have a process? Or
Well, I do have a process, but it really depends on what's going on in that person's life, right? And so now that I do it, it's a different thing. It's going in and clearing it myself, and then bringing it to other people and sharing with them what I saw, what is going on. Back to that when we were talking about being able to read people and their energy levels. What's the connection? Was that bad energy and that chaos from someone else? Is that a traumatic moment in your life? Are you depressed in your life? And finding how that relates to that moment, because we really create in that shadow self, we really create our environment. You're the victim once, but that next 2, 5, 10 times, you're making a choice to stay there. So now that chaos you are bringing on yourself, and you're not taking yourself out of that situation. So that really depends. Is it, are you in some haunted house? Is there a paranormal? Or is that deep, dark chaos you? And that's deep, dark into a shadow level. So kind of more working on that underworld level, right? And so maybe in that Osiris and that deep dark of what is us and our ancient wisdom, and bringing that up to the light, to the present moment.
Okay, wow. The one thing that I noticed from my life and talking with amazing people on my podcast and on my life, all of this time, is that we go through things, we try different things, different paths, different careers, and then all of those steps are what we're supposed to go, like kind of education formation for us to get to where we meant to be. Like for me, I've done it all. I've done corporate, I've done the laptop lifestyle, I worked with rednecks in the oil fields. I worked as a football soccer coach, entrepreneur. So, and I wasn't changing for anything, because all of that have taught me tremendous lesson. I see life as a buffet. You try a little bit of everything, to try. This life is basically, at least from what I see it, is like is a school for us to try and accumulate as many experiences as possible. That's how I see it. What are your thoughts on that?
I would have to agree 100%, and I think one thing a lot of people forget when they're going through all these different experiences, don't allow the experience to define you.
Mhm.
Let it be an education, like you said, and grow from it, so that when you go into the next one, you can take that with you. Because everything that I've done throughout my life, I've been able to take parts and pieces of it, and moving from hardcore automotive in all aspects of it, going then into the metaphysical realm. It's pretty amazing how much that it incorporates into the context that I made in that business. Also went over into the holistic, because I needed bottles. I knew where to get them when I was in the automotive. It was big jugs and 55-gallon drums, and now for essential oils or homeopathics, you're looking at little 5 mil, 15 mil, but it was all from the same company. So I didn't have to go try to figure out, where am I going to find this? I already had the contacts. So many things interact, and just working with the men out there in the businesses, I have to say I saved a lot of marriages, right?
Wow.
So you're in that consultation, that coaching business. Even then, it led me to where I am now. So I had a lot of practice, because people, the guys would come to me and say, "Hey, Beverly, you're a woman. What's going on? My wife is doing this, or my girlfriend is doing that," right? And it's like, because men's brains and women's brains do not they do not work on the same page, even in the same planet. That's why,
Absolutely.
you know so I tell them, I say, okay, this is actually what she's asking you for. So if you do this, you'll be just fine. They look at you like deer in the headlights, right? And it's, well, what do you got to lose? Is it working what you're doing? No. Well, then try it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you come back next week, right, and you tell me you did it and it didn't work and you got slapped in the face or whatever the case was, right? I said, I'll give you a free case of tape. How's that?
That's an amazing offer. Yeah.
Well, I never gave any cases of tape away. I'll tell you that. So that was a good thing.
Wow. That's
So you
amazing.
do. I mean, that's what I did a lot too, in security or getting out there or working in the jail. It's really defining and understanding those people and being able to read those people, what they needed, why they were acting the way they were acting. In that moment, being able to either talk to them or stop them from what they were about to do. And that's huge. That's not something that a lot of people do, and not in an egoic way. It's saying, look, I have this mastery that I can command and understand what you're about to do. Let's not let that happen. We're going to stop that right here. But, without all the bells and whistles and calling everybody else in. If you can, we have something called verbal judo in law enforcement. It's a way to talk somebody down and around from what they're doing. It's kind of being able to repattern and readjust and spin them around so you can get them to do what you need to do to stop what they're about to do. So whatever evil deed or bad thing that they're about to do, you can stop them from doing that.
Mhm.
Doesn't that
And you
also
can
kind of
recognize it.
correlate with that? There you go. That recognizing that there's a habit here that's being
Yeah, it's a
formed,
pattern.
right?
Well, it's a
Yeah.
pattern. You're looking at patterns, you're looking at habits, or you're looking at a call for help. And that call for help is not necessarily mollycoddling that person, whether it's in the jail or outside. You need to bring attention to it, and sometimes just very quickly. And then they can go, oh, okay. Because they're not in their, what we would call, I guess, a right mind. You're not really in that moment of what am I doing? I don't have control of myself. Something else is making a decision, a force somewhere else or someone else in a bad situation or a bad relationship is making a decision for you. And that's why I always say that's my fear, is not to be able to make a decision. Is someone else making that decision at the moment? Or have you released something and maybe something energetically is making a decision for you on a different scale? And so when you even look at the paranormal sense, that's the same thing. So if you can get that person to stop, wake up, bring them into that sense of awareness and understand what their experience is, and that's where that theory of relativity kicks in. What is their experience and why are they doing it? We don't always need to nurse that person, and we don't always need to put bumpers on it. What we need to do is call it what it is, bring in that moment, bring them out of that moment, and then therefore allow them to change their life or do what they're going to do. And that's a huge thing. And psychically and empathically, that's another thing. Sharing with clients, bringing them into that state of awareness and changing those patterns in their traumatic time or in the chaos that they have developed. Because sometimes we get stuck in our monkey mind, those fear gremlins kick in and everything's telling us in a sabotaging way what to do or what not to do, and it's stopping us from moving forward. And that's that chaos of our mind. And so bringing that back to that moment where you can live in the light and you can bring that manifestation in abundance and have a loving life and have joy and be able to laugh and share that with others.
Absolutely. You mentioned something that really, a lot of things that we can talk. If I were to raise every point, we'd be here for 3-4 hours, like a Joe Rogan style. But you said something about working in a jail. That's something extremely fascinating. So when you worked there, what would you say was the number one challenge for the people in the jail? Especially the inmates that you noticed among them.
I think the number one challenge is they didn't have parents.
Mm.
They
Was it-
didn't have discipline.
was the
And,
even-
and discipline doesn't mean spanking your kid or throwing them in the corner at all times,
Mhm.
but discipline to do even good things, discipline to stay in their sport, right? You're going to stay in your sport for a season, right? Like what I taught my kid. You want to take tennis, you're going to have to commit to every month that tennis game is played so you can learn the tennis. You can't just walk away. You have to stay with it. If you choose it, you've got to stay in it. You don't have to be a pro, but you can experience it. And then next time you can take ballet if that's what you so choose. But the discipline to stay with it. And they didn't have that discipline. They didn't have a parent at home. They didn't have anybody watching them. Who was the babysitter? It was the TV. It was the school district. It was the school police. Everybody else is watching your kid but you. And so they had nothing. So when they would come into the system, they got spoiled rotten because we all felt sorry for them. So during Christmas dinner, we were overpopulated. because they got gifts, because these kids got dinners, because these kids got clothes, because these kids got prayers. And you
love,
can't,
something
they
that
got
probably
love.
lacking.
100%. That was my next thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something they
That's it.
lacking at home. Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
They got love for a moment, and then they went back on the street to commit those crimes again later so they can come back and get that love again. So return offenders, why are they repeating? Because now they come in because they get prizes, because they get cared for, because they get school.
So would
Well,
you
why
say
not give
that-
it to them outside? So
would
we're
you say-
paying. Yeah.
Would you say that for them, the real jail was not in jail, but once well back on the street because it's an environment that's completely hostile for them, completely alien, and they feel more at home, so to speak, in jail because they're getting the thing that they never got, which were like care, love, attention,
Food,
food.
clothes.
Yes, exactly.
And I want to give that to everybody, but why not teach them how to get it outside? Because it's, the jail in itself is a universe in itself. It's a cosmopolitan. It's a city in and
Sure.
of itself. Why not teach people how to get it outside?
Mm,
Well, that too comes with the prison that we put ourselves in.
yes.
Again, because of everything Nicole just stated, it's what they know. It's their database of information.
Mm,
And
Right.
we are humans of survival.
Yes.
That's that animal instinct. So if I want to survive and get this, I do that because, again, where are we rewarding when we should be teaching?
Right.
And
Totally.
yeah, so
Learn
yeah.
to live, and programs a while back when these programs started, they would teach people how to adapt into life. So you can have your own home, you can have your own family, you can have your own children, you can work, make your own money, and you don't have to depend on other people. But you had choices. You can go out, you could have a life, you could work out in the gym when you want to. Buy the cheeseburger you want when you want. Have a steak if you want. You can make those decisions. But now you have lost all your choices. And that mentality has come out into the world in a large scale where we want others to make those choices. We want others to tell us what we want, what to wear, how to wear it, what to breathe, when to breathe, go out, when to go outside, where to go outside, where to take our children. Instead of here, let's share this wonderful, juicy experience and experience it yourself. Put your phone away because no one's
a big
looking
one.
at those pictures when you get home. You can't look at 200 pictures. Nobody has time for that. Share that, be in the moment. Experience.
You mentioned the jail that we build around us, and one of the most nefarious and most harmful prisons we can build around us is this. Because from the moment you wake up, your first instinct is just grab it, check it 24/7. It's almost like it's holding us. It's owning us. So, do you have any tips for someone to reduce their dependence, their being completely addiction to the phone? Do you have any tips on that, both of you?
Yeah, I would say definitely you can schedule it. If you're a business person and you're an entrepreneur, schedule your time when you're replying to your email, schedule your time when you're on Facebook, schedule your time on your replies, because that gives you time and that will enhance your life. Also, when you wake up, give yourself 10 minutes. Just feel into yourself, ground yourself, call in your angels and guides, and really wake up and be present. Take a time to meditate. Just meditate with you and breathe into your day. And when you wake up, put your feet on the floor, connect to the floor and ground. That's just a moment of being present, and then go into your phone. Do you need to answer that? Really establish and delegate what isn't most important. We all have a moment where we need to answer the phone because there's family, or there is a business crisis. Who knows? All the lights went out, or something happened, or somebody didn't show up. That is okay, but you have to establish that reality and also reward yourself. So if you put that phone down, how much time are you spending at the gym? Don't take the phone. That phone. Maybe you got a podcast on. And you said Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan. I listen to him when I'm at the gym. It's hilarious. I love to
yeah.
laugh. He makes me laugh. and he's very curious in life,
Mhm.
and something that you jive with in the gym, and that's not time to start taking 20 pictures.
Yes.
Do people want to see another picture of you at the gym? I mean, unless you're a fitness instructor. So let's see, do they want to see your dinner? you know,
Absolutely.
sharing moments with them and not creating the fake and pretend moments, but sharing real moments with family and reunion and stuff like that. Just schedule that into your time, but also reward yourself when you do put it down. Now I've got an extra 5 or 10 minutes. Now I got 10 minutes where I can just, maybe have a bowl of ice cream. Who knows? Maybe I have 10 minutes where I can sit in silence. Maybe I have 10 more minutes at the gym. Really thinking and doing. What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're attached to? And that's really, what are you missing? Where's the lack when you're on the phone? Are you a fear of missing out? That's really what it is. What are you missing out on that you haven't nourished your soul with? So that's even a deeper connection. I don't know, Beverly, what do you?
Well, it's like when I look back, through life, before this, right? It's like, what was life like before you had this thing attached to your hip? If you look at that phone as being a client, are you going to spend 24 hours a day with that client? No. So, like Nicole was saying, schedule that time. The phone can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So, what is consuming you? And again, we all have that little bit of addictive behavior, right? And again, like you were saying, Nicole, am I going to miss something? Well, what was life like before the cell phone came on? What was life like, way back in the day? We couldn't take a phone. It was attached to the wall. Okay. We were on a party line, right? And it was like, it did, when it rang, you had your certain ring, whatever. But as a kid, if we were in the house, you were working, so you were gone. You were outside. As soon as you were out of mom's sight, you were fine. You were safe, right? But so again, what is that difference? We actually were okay with it.
Mhm.
I never knew what a TV was until I was probably, I want to say, 10 years old, 12 years old. Dad would take us to the movies, maybe like once a month. Well, as soon as we got a TV, we never went to the movies anymore. It's like, what? What's this thing? Right? But we weren't allowed to watch it other than Lawrence Welk, and then was it Wyatt Earp or whatever, Gunsmoke, So it was in the evening. There was one or two shows, Saturday morning cartoons. They were like only in the winter time, and it wasn't only for like maybe an hour, but you only had 3 channels.
Yes.
And it was black and white. And if you wanted color, oh my gosh, you want to hear something really crazy? So you had this piece of plastic that was the size of your TV screen, and it had 3 lines of color on it. And you put that up to the screen, and now you had color TV. So
Wow.
that's fact. That's fact. Okay. So when it comes to this thing, carrying it around, again, I've asked myself that question. What did I do in my existence before this came to being? Did you have successful business? Yes, I created 6-figure, businesses without this. So again, it gives you that time to have to plan and to work into in your goals. But if you're spending all that time menial little things, like, I mean, you can get totally lost in Facebook or any social medias, and it's like what Nicole said, regulate your time. What's important to you? Where are you, and what is defining your life? What is ruling your life? And again, this can be a prison, just like anything else, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I personally don't use social media. I only use it for business. So, but yeah, you're right. Wow.
Use it for good. Use the force for good,
Exactly.
Luke, right? Because
Yeah,
we have
there's a lot.
healing apps on our phone that we can use, that we can run. You
Meditation
keep
music, things like that
absolutely.
when you're, right? So there's a lot of pluses to it. Just,
And
Right.
my apps that count, for example,
weigh the
number of
odds.
steps, how many kilometers I bike a day. Those are things that, those are useful for traveling and things. But yeah, no, for sure. Wow. Awesome. Let's talk now about your business. Tell us about what you guys do. Tell us about the magical stuff you guys are up to.
Well, we have a
go
lot of
ahead.
fun, right? We have a lot of fun.
Before we
The
start,
360.
all right. So tell us
Okay.
about your business, the magical stuff you're up to.
Well, we were both doing podcasting and shows and lives and all that stuff. So Nicole and I decided, let's join forces and let's just really do this like big time. She goes, okay. And we started 360 Wisdom Speaks podcasting, which
Wow.
basically what we like to share with our audience is what you kind of shared with us here today, right? As to how you got started. What was your big aha moment that created a transformation in your life?
Mhm.
And then share your happy ever afters, because we want to focus on those happy ever afters, those fun times that can actually help people put hope back in their life, put a smile on their face, as we talked about earlier, right? Get some laughter into it, and and then some guidance and direction in the simplicity of life. Life is very simple. It's not always easy, but it's simple. And so that's kind of what 360 Wisdom Speaks is all about, is to bring back the hope, bring back the laughter, and really share words of wisdom that people can start to incorporate in their life, especially now with things of uncertainty and, insecurities and everything else. It's like, where do I go? So, as Nicole said, go within so you don't have to go without. Right?
Absolutely.
What is that best part of who you are? Let's just let it spew out to the world, and, it's the same thing that you're doing, right? And so there can never be enough of that. And that's what
Totally.
changes the world, changes humanity. And that's kind of my take on the whole enchilada. So, Nicole, take it away.
Well, we do the podcast, and that's all comes from the energy work and the connection that we do. So I also do coaching and working with clients from that traumatic experience, allowing that shift to happen. So even when I do my talk, I call it Shift Happens, right? So allowing that transformation, what does the energy work do for you? I work with, little machines, teach people how to use little pocket healers like the Healy, and using crystals or releasing, changing their vibrations, even just within their body. How can they make that change? How can they level up? How can they work with passion, purpose, and profit? How do you find that? You've got to change that energetic connection and that energy level within your body. That's also nutrition. That's also exercise. That's changing the mindset, focusing, using tactile functioning meditations, and then getting within meditation so you're more present. And so lifting that person and developing their why, developing their passion. What are you really passionate about? What do you love to create? What do you want? What business do you want to birth? Or do you even just want to level up and maybe get a promotion at your job? Why are you getting looked over, right? So that's what that coaching goes into, that self-leadership, so you can have self-mastery. So really working from trigger to triumph and getting into that. So that's that full encompassing holistic work. So sharing that and sharing that with this new birthing of this podcast that Beverly and I have done in the month of August, which is the Lionsgate energy, right? So that's the creation. And that's that gift of really bringing that Lagus energy too, which is in the runestone. It's an emotion. It's emotional energy. It's releasing the emotions. It's water. It's movement. And water is a creator of life. And we're all full of water. At least 80% of our body is water, which is crystalline energy. So when we wake up towards self-mastery, we ignite all those crystals and we change our energy, we compound it and quantumize it into that field. So now we can understand that full quantum entanglement of where we are part of each other in life and how we are living within each other's consciousness. So it's just definitely bringing that shift And that's where we love this creation of bringing on that Wisdom Speaks podcast and sharing that beauty of what other people can do in life to heal themselves.
And everything is frequency. And that's that uplifting, that's what brings joy into life. It takes a whole lot less energy to stay elevated and happy and joyful than it does to get sad and stay in depression and take yourself down. It's really weighs heavy on you because it slows you down. So just get out there and really, really experience what's going on. Nicole and I have got a lot of things on the background. She's got her little shift happens going. I've got one going, from disaster to master, which kind of shares how do you level up, and really doing these workshops, these little mini workshops and stuff that are going to lead into some really big retreats and stuff. So her and I are just really collaborating, and we're bringing others in as well to join those forces to really be that expression of the best you that you can be. There's always room for growth and that alignment, that awakening. And it's okay to have questions, because if you don't ask questions, you're never going to get the answers. Game is like, life is like a game of Jeopardy, right? We have all the answers. We really do. You just got to find the right question.
That's what
to
makes
match
you
up to that
magicians.
answer.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go. So,
Mm.
and life can be magical, and it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be devastating. What is defining you? And again, as you mentioned very early in this broadcast, is education. Right? It's education. Every step is a learning process. Delete the old database because you got some new exciting stuff in.
Sure.
And Nicole works with that sabotager, which is like your subconscious, right? That keeps running the show because it likes to play out the old database because it thinks it knows best. Well, you got to become friends with that little sabotager and say, that was good back then, but oh man, we got this bright, shiny object that's a lot better. I'll trade you. Right. So you kind of got to talk to it as if it were a little child. And that makes eliminating the old database to put the new stuff in place. And that expands your knowledge. And that's what we're all about here, is to expand that knowledge, whether it's through, these little workshops or big retreats. And it's just getting to know and getting educated on what it is that you're not, so that you can really discover what you are from the inside out. So always remember, come from your heart, connect with your mind. And when they start to communicate, the energies around you shift and everything shifts inside, and you become the soul essence of who you were designed to be.
Very true. Now, who would you say is your ideal client?
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the ideal client would be for someone to ask themselves, am I ready to make a commitment to move forward in my life, take full responsibility of who I am, go in with an open mind, and make a shift because I don't like where I am. I'm afraid what's out there, but I'm going to build the courage and the confidence to know that what's out there is way better than what's where I'm at. Because why? Because you make what's on the other side of that darkness your desire and your truth. So to go out and find that. So the ideal client is someone who is really looking to make a change and will walk with you at the pace you're ready to go, in the direction you're ready to go, to help you discover the identity of the oneness of who you are with your soul. Because in my belief, it is an identity. And so let's get rid of the stuff you're not, so that you can really shine for all that you are.
Wow.
So just reach out. We'll let you know. What are you looking for? And if we don't have what you're looking for, guess what? we know someone who does.
Hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Now, what is the structure of your program? Is it like more one-on-one, small groups? Is it like videos? Is it like weekly calls? Tell us about the structure for someone that's watching this and may be interested in what you have to offer. Tell us about the structure. Walk them through the moment they get connected to you, how they join you, and then once they join you, how is that gonna start the relationship so that they can really change their life? Tell us about the structure.
Well, there's several different structures. So we do work on that. We have books kind of for self-help and taking the journey. Is it videos, meditation, going to the YouTube channels that we have. There's meditation videos, tactile function, focus videos for meditations. We do that. We also have courses. My course is Triggered to Triumph. So that's a digital course to share with people how to go from that moment of that stress point or sabotaging point where you feel you can't go, you're not living in your passion. So you're constantly triggered and upset to move to the triumph and move into that self mastery to do it at your own pace. Or even, I have an 8-week course that is online. It's part of a group participation, but it's also one-to-one. So I love to work with my clients one-to-one because I get to know where they're at, watch their development, help share some energy, some love and light, help them release so they can find their passionate purpose, so they can discover their why, right? Even at a group level, when you identify your passionate purpose and you gain that energetic connection to that profit, right? And you find that career or the 501c3 that you want to build or become that entrepreneur so you can live in your dream and desired life. So it can be either way. So it's very different ways when you go online. We have many different facets, but there's levels for everybody because not everybody's in that same space. Not everybody feels they have the time to work one-on-one or they're ready to release all that is blocking them. What is that stress blocking that success, right? What is blocking you? Or maybe you just need a little boost. And sometimes people just like to read articles. So there's just a variety of ways and classes, working with weekend classes and courses that Beverly has developed that we're getting ready to do this month as well. And so we have just that variety because everybody needs a little something different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we like to meet you where you are so that we can help you go to the direction you want to go. And sometimes you may not know where you want to go. And again, that's that discovery of finding out what it is that you're not, what it is that you don't want, and you can start doing that, on a daily basis, just kind of start taking a scan over your life. What is it that you're doing every single day that you want to stop doing? Take one thing a day and say, I'm no longer going to do this. And then stop
Perfect.
it and make that become that new not to do thing and then replace it with something that you want to do. And if you do that every single day, all of a sudden you're going to see your whole world change around you, inside of you. Your friends are going to change. They're going to notice differences. They're going to say, what have you been doing? You're not the same. All right, I'm not the same. This is exciting, right? So those are little things that you can start incorporating in your life right now. And with the uncertainties in the world and the different fears, take a look at those. What has you in that turmoil? And what can you do? Go to the opposite. It's a world of duality. So whatever that thought is, move completely to the opposite end of it and start performing that. So if you find yourself sad all the time, just say, okay, I'm not going to be sad anymore. I'm going to go and be happy. What do I have to do to be happy? I have to sing happy songs. Maybe I have to watch something that's going to make me laugh, right? I need, whatever it is, do just the opposite. And when that becomes that habit, all of a sudden you'll find yourself moving very fast into the shifting. And that's something that everyone can do on their own to start that journey of awakening, that journey of movement, But we're here to reach out to on whatever level it is that you're looking to meet. Right?
Wow, that's powerful. I love that. I will definitely have to rewatch it myself and take notes. I'm gonna implement what you just said myself. That's that's amazing. And that's the thing I really love about this podcast is connecting and talking with incredible people and learning from them, from the experience. And I can see both of you are amazing people with incredible wealth of knowledge. So I love that. I'm humbled. Thank you for that. Wow. Now, share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from someone going through your program, from one of your clients, basically. Yeah.
You know, I love to share the transformation of my client who was at a point of trying to level up and get rid of all her traumatic, toxic experiences. Who has gone through some times of her life where she felt that it was more of a possession in her life, where some other force was making choices for her and her body and what she would do. She wasn't able to have that choice. She drank, she was an alcoholic. She had a lot of traumatic experiences and she was really drowning her pain. She couldn't even get the jobs that she wanted or get out of the house, talk to people. And she loved animals, but animals weren't at the point where they loved her because her energy was very toxic. And so her animals would bite her, or they would shed. And animals are very telling about who a human is. And as we worked together, she stopped drinking.
Wow.
She got her promotion at a veterinary clinic, and her animals were very comforted. They were calm. They were healthy. The coats of their skin changed. The way she took care of them changed. She got out of the house. She was able to socialize. She was able to love herself and look in the mirror. And that's just such a beautiful transformation for people to take that work when they're ready to take action, when they're ready to do the opposite of what they were doing, like Beverly spoke of, when they were ready to take action, breathe life, watch something funny on TV, take a moment for themselves, and be with other people, even to just have some tea or coffee with someone publicly and share a healthy moment where you're not frightened and you're not in your head space, and the energetic level of you changes, and how you present yourself, and other people wanted to be around her. That's big. People are calling you, people are connecting with you. They love sharing time with you. They don't avoid you. And it was such a beautiful process to see her and hear from her, how she's doing, how she's feeling. And she got a second job. She got another job, which was a better job, and it was an increase as a manager, something that she loved to do.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, love that.
Well, when you do this work, it's, oh gosh, you could write a book on, and book after book. I would probably say one that stands out for me the most, because it kind of incorporates so many of the different levels of things that I do, was when I was called in on a case where a gentleman had been in a water skiing accident,
Mm.
and he broke his leg and it was severed. So the bone was showing, out of the skin. He was comatose. The bone marrow was bleeding into the blood. They couldn't get it to stop. He was starting to fill up with fluid, in his lungs and in his brain. And he was in Louisiana. The person who called me was in Wyoming. I was in Montana, and it was before these things, so people could get a hold of you, right? And when I had left Wyoming, the friend who I had left asked me he said, "Where are you going to be? I just feel I have to have your phone number." And I said, so I gave her my sister's phone number. Well, I got the call, and intuitively, and that's where that psychic energy comes in, that psychic surgery and stuff. When I got the message, again, it's working with the higher consciousness of the soul together. My higher consciousness with the higher consciousness of the client. And I got permission. We stopped, we cauterized it intuitively. We cauterized so that the bone marrow was no longer seeping. The blood was stopped. We put in stents in the lungs, around the heart, and through the brain so that the fluid could drain. He was a womanizer, and this comes into the emotional stuff, because they all kind of interact. And he was a womanizer. He had 3 little kids that his wife had left him, had moved from Louisiana to Wyoming. And so their dad really wasn't in their life, a phone call now and then. And it was like, well, do you want to live or not live before we go any further? And he didn't know.
Wow.
He didn't know. So working with that higher consciousness, and with the ego out of the way, the consciousness of the element that walks around in this avatar, right? It was having that communication with him, moving through a lot of emotional baggage. I mean, we spent probably an hour going through that healing process of eliminating the emotional databases and the baggage, and like Nicole calls this, the sabotaging, stuff. And once we had that all clear, it's like, well, do you want to live or not? He goes, no, I want to live. I want to be able to connect with my kids again. I want to be a better person.
Wow.
And it was like 3 days later. I mean, he had given me a message. He said, share with my family that when I'm ready to come back, I will open my eyes. So I shared that message. 3 days later, he opened his eyes. And of course, here's the doctors with their little flashlight, It's like, well, the eyes are open, but nobody's home. Because at that point, they couldn't explain what was going on. But because he was so deep in that comatose, they couldn't say whether or not he was going to have brain damage. And, so I got the call and they said, okay, he opened his eyes, but this was happening, da, da, da. I said, it was a sign. He's a sign. Don't unplug me. I'm coming back. Right? Because they were talking about maybe taking him off some of the life support. And, but that was the message. And 2 days later, he actually woke up, had full consciousness of who he was, how he got there. And so there was a happy ever after. And I actually got to meet the gentleman 10 years later when he was in Wyoming, visiting his family out there. And it was really a happy reunion. So when you can do things like this, it sounds so foo-foo and far out and everything. But again, when you're out of your own way and you connect and align with the energies of who you are, and you open to that healing from within, it changes everything. But the emotional baggage that we suppress in ourselves is the damaging element that puts everything at risk: our relationships, our wealth, and definitely our health. And it's not just the physical body, it's your emotional bodies, your mental bodies, and your spiritual bodies. And that's the teaching, in the workshops that I do, is to help people understand what these levels are and how they can actually become the healers of their own issues. And if they want, if it's that calling to work on that level on others, then I have a certification course that will take them into becoming that psychic surgeon or intuitive healer, whichever, word that you want to use. But it's real. It's all about embracing what is truth. And as I mentioned earlier, connect your heart with your mind, expand. Everything is truth when you move away from doubt. So I would say that was probably one of the most relevant ones that really changed even my perspective on some of the things and how I respond with people and work with people, because it took into every aspect of what I did.
Wow, what a powerful example. One thing that I see unfolding regularly, not only in my life, but in the lives of the people I talk to, not on my podcast, but beyond that, is that events that happen to us especially the ones that are really life changing, even tragic at the time, they turned out a few years later, when you really look at it, they are like a wake up call, and for you to really, like a rebirth, to really
Mhm.
look at things from a perspective. I will share an example of an incredible lady I had on my podcast from Australia just a couple of weeks ago. I had it actually not once, but twice, because Ursula was absolutely beyond fascinating. So she grew up in a small town, Australia. She got married at a young age. By the time she was 24, she was pregnant with the first kid. The first kid was born. Her father was diagnosed with colon cancer. So while he was starting his treatment, her mother got breast cancer at the same time. So and by the time, within 2 years, both of them were gone, and she had two infants. So one infant, the first one was barely a year old, and the second she was pregnant of a second child. Her mother passed away just 3 months before the second child was born, and she was living in the middle of nowhere in Australia with her husband and no support, nothing. At the time, she was completely desperate. She didn't know what did she do to deserve that, and she was beyond. She said, like, she didn't want to live because, first of all, that's one of the most horrible things that can happen to anyone. But also because she looked at her parents, said, well, they both passed while they were pretty young, 54 and 56, and she was 24, 26. Said, okay, looking at that, is this what's awaiting for me, what I'm going to get in a few years? If that's the case, then why do I even continue? But then something happened in her. She said, okay, she started looking at her family. She said, no one in the family had cancer. So you said, so this cannot be hereditary. So she started looking, what is the real cause of it? And she, through her own research, she found out that a majority of the diseases are due to our lifestyle choices as well as the stress. So she completely changed the course of her family. She started studying that, immersing herself into that, and she started. The first thing she did was cooking healthy food, organic food, as opposed to just buying or whatever. That was the first thing she did. At first, believe it or not, she get laughed at, ridiculed by friends and so-called family because, hey, why are you wasting your time cooking a meal from scratch? Just buy it, or just get something that's pre-made. She said, no, I have to take care of, I have to change, I have to do this for the sake of my family. So long story short, now 20 years later, she's very successful, very happy, in the best shape of her life. And we had this conversation last week, and she said, and I asked her, looking back now at the horrible, tragic event of losing both of your parents within a couple of 2 years while you're still pregnant and with a second child, how do you look now at that event? She said, you know what? That might sound strange, but that's the greatest gift that my parents have given to me. If back then someone would have told me that this is a gift, a lesson, I would have pointed them in the face. And that's an understatement. Now, looking at it,
Yeah.
it's the greatest gift because it opened my eyes to what's really important. What's really important is not chasing material things, but taking care of ourselves. And now she went on a journey to drastically change the way her family eats, and that has had tremendous effect on her, on her family, and all that. And now she's on a mission to teach that to other people. So she's on a mission. She said that was the gift the parents gave to her to bring her back to realize what is her mission on this planet in this lifetime, and that is to help to be a beacon of light for others. So when I heard that, I said, wow, that's incredibly powerful. And I completely agree with that because sometimes, we tend to be kind of stubborn. We learn the hard way. You tell someone to do something, they're not going to listen to you. Something bad has to happen to them, you know? And sometimes these can be very, very tragic events because that's how we learn, you know? Like, for example, for me, sharing a personal example, my father just passed away just on July 18. So what allowed me to overcome that was my spiritual awakening. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I've had a spiritual awakening. I never was spiritual. Sure, I was religious at some point in my life, but not very into that. But then at the start of pandemic, I started devouring anything I could about, spirituality and all that. And that's what really allowed me to see things at a much higher level. Say, hey, These are, when something bad happens to us, we shouldn't, it's all the power of question. Asking the right question can be life-changing and powerful. So that, whining and dwelling and saying, oh, what did I do to deserve this? Why me? And all that. Instead of doing that and being a victim, we need to ask ourselves, what is the lesson to be learned here? What is life trying to teach me? And when my father was going through that, and me and my sister were taking care of him, I asked myself, so what is the lesson here? And the lesson for me was to become more compassionate, to be more patient, because I was never very patient. To be more caring, and to understand that, hey, this is the greatest lesson that life is teaching me through my father. To be more patient, more caring, to be more compassionate, more empathic, and also to know that, hey, when my father goes on to the next stage of his life at the soul level, we're told, hey, you have one life, make the most of it. But that doesn't make any sense to me. I get to learn to it that, hey, that doesn't make any sense, because this life is just like at night, where you're tired, we sleep, in the morning we wake up, brand new day, fresh, with all possibilities in front of us. Same thing with our lives. We all have had tens, if not hundreds, of past life in the past, and we'll have tens, if not hundreds, in the future. So when you look at things from that perspective, you know that, hey, this is just one phase. This is just one transition, and we are here to learn. This life, this planet is like a school. Another thing that I learned is that, just like when you're in college or in high school, you talk with your course counselor, they're going to ask you, so what do you want to learn? What are you passionate about? And based on those answers, they will guide you to such and such university and such majors. Same thing in here. That's what I learned, is that before we are born, we meet with our spiritual guides. They ask us, okay, what do you want to learn in this lifetime? They sit with us, look at our strengths and our weaknesses, where we need to work on. And then based on that, they can tell us, okay, so in this lifetime, you need to master one or two things, whether it's love, patience, being more caring, more understanding, whatever. So these are the things that I learned through that. And honestly, for me, spirituality basically saved my life, because if it wasn't for that, I don't know how I would have overcome that. And I guess my father's job, so to speak, was to allow me to open my eyes and my heart to what was really what we're here for truly. It is not just to accumulate as much money or to get a bigger house or whatever, the latest iPhone or whatnot. It's about learning lessons. And for me, that allowed me to really, over the past year, I've had this awakening to, I've always been attracted towards helping others. But since the start of this pandemic, my entire focus is on building businesses that are about serving others, about being of service. And when you do that, you become a different person. I told you last time when we spoke, the two most important dates in our lives are, first, when we are born, and second, when we realize why we are here. And for some of us, it might be a
Exactly.
tragic event to realize that, but hey, that's how we learn. So, again, it's a long tangent to say that sometimes the most horrific events are the greatest gifts, if you look at it from a higher perspective. So, Bev, when you shared that example of that client of yours, and when you met that person again 10 years later, if you were to ask that person, how would you, now that you've gone through that, how would you look at that tragic, accident? Would you say it was something unfortunate, or would you say that this was the greatest gift that life gave me to really open my eyes and to get closer to my family and to become a better person?
We talked about that, and he was so grateful that we finally got to meet person to person, because he only knew the stories about me from his wife and from his kids and from, her friends and stuff, because we had never met. And when we did, he says, I just have to tell you one thing. Thank you for giving my life back to me.
Absolutely.
And I said, it's like, well, I couldn't do it without you, it was a twofold, but it was such an honor to be able to change a life like that, because it wasn't just one life, because his
Family.
life was now exactly where, he had a relationship with his kids. He had a greater relationship with his wife. They got along great. They did things together, and he was able to be there for his kids, and now they were getting older, because I think at the time that happened, I think the oldest one was 8, so now, 10 years later, she was 18, and I think the youngest one was 2, so he was able to be there in their lives. They could go down to Louisiana, spend time in the summer, get to know their grandparents that lived down there. And it was a reunion. And he said, I couldn't fathom not having what was given to me that day
Mm-hmm.
when I was at death's door.
Oh yeah.
And that's what these tragic, encounters happen. It's almost as you feel you're in that darkness of nothingness, and
Mm.
it's an abyss, right? And the dark night of the soul, as Nicole says, right? And how do you come back from that? And
Totally.
and as you mentioned, becoming spiritual and really starting to understand what spirituality is. Religion and spirituality are two different things,
Absolutely.
right? And it's understanding what we are as an unhuman, avatar here, all this other energy that composes who we are and where we go. And this is a classroom of
Yes.
duality, right? Time and space and all of
Yes.
that. So make the most of it,
Yes.
you know?
There's a quote that perfectly summarizes what you just said, is that maybe some will not agree with it, but me, from personal experience, the more I get into that, the more I realize it's totally makes sense, is that, religion divides, spirituality unites, you know?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
wow. It's been the greatest journey I've been on, even though I've lived in 10 countries and 4 continents, but the greatest journey I've been on was that of getting within, learning to
Mm.
learning about myself,
Yeah.
and learning about what this life is really about, what really truly matters. You know, I've been in places in Brazil and Thailand and China and the Philippines where you have complete abject poverty, entire families living on cardboards on the street, but yet these people are some of the happiest people in the world because they live simple lives. They know what really matters. What really matters is being present, being
Mm.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the present, in the now, you know, and just living each day as if it were your last day on this planet. So when you meet people like that, it really opens your eyes. And I've been through times in my life that I've experienced everything. I've been through times where I literally run out of money and I was living on $20 a week in Hong Kong, and one of the most expensive places in the world. And on the other end of the spectrum, I've been in times where I was making $2,000-3,000 a day. But I will take the time when I was living on $20 a week over the one making $2,000-3,000 a day, because that's when I had the greatest personal growth, the greatest, and honestly, I had the most fun in my life in that time period, because you focus on what really matters, and that's relationships, connections, and not just trying to keep up with the next guy. You're trying to, okay, you're making 1,000. What about making $2,000 a day? That's 3,000, and there's always going to be a guy making 5,000, 10,000. It never ends. And when you get there, you will get a feeling of, okay, what's next? Is all there is
Right.
to it? You will feel empty.
And you start taking things for granted
Yeah.
instead
So
of really taking every breath as a
mhm,
blessing, because you're not guaranteed,
yeah,
No.
you know?
No.
And so live it to its fullest, right?
absolutely. And again, it's what life is about. From my experiences, life is about experimenting everything. Just like I've experienced the lowest of the lowest, and I wouldn't say the highest of high, but pretty not too bad. But you know, I wouldn't
Right.
change it. I wouldn't change it, because if it weren't for those moments, I wouldn't be where I am now. And even now, it's only not even a stepping stone to where I am meant to be, because now in front of me, there's this incredible opportunity now that to have a real impact, as I told you last time. And that's a perfect segue to the next section of this podcast, which is the cause. For me, for example, it's all about building businesses with impact, with the cause, with a heart. With my partner, a person, a very influential that works with one of the most influential people in the world, the 1%. We're launching a product on Kickstarter, and for each unit we sell, first of all, it's going to be a vegan leather, premium vegan leather. I can't disclose the product just yet, but it's pretty soon. So for every 3 unit we sell, we will be sponsoring a kid for 1 year of education in India. So we're going to be taking kids from the streets. So taking kids from the street and putting them in school to give them an opportunity to have a shot at a normal life. And our goal for the campaign is not to raise 100, 200, $500,000. That's not our purpose. Our goal is to raise enough money to sponsor 1,000 kids. And if we were to reach that goal, then by default it's going to be $1 million campaign. The point of that is when you put the focus of your business not on the financial aspect, but on the impact. And that's the first
Yes.
question I ask people when I meet them. It's not, okay, how much revenue you make in the business? Are you 6 figures, 7 figures? I don't care about that. The first question I ask them, and the only question is, what cause are you passionate about? What is the impact of your business? And even when people approach me for business, the first question is not, okay, what's your revenue? The first question is, what is the impact? If there's no impact, I'm not interested. Because when you put impact as a central point of your business, then the money is going to take care of itself. It's going to be a natural, organic byproduct of it, from my experience. So that's a perfect segue. What would you say for you, ladies, is a cause that you're most passionate about?
Oh gosh, I'm right beside you with the children because I really feel that we are losing our kids, and education, the right education,
Yes.
and education in a book is not education in life.
Mhm.
So really working with the children as they start to grow up into different stages of their life is to really understand how you can live your life, and knowing your surroundings, knowing your inner workings, and having that open-mindedness, and let them ask the questions, let them experience what they are. Don't let them fall into fear. Fear is not born, it's taught, right? And so it's what's the difference between caution and safety and not fear? So for me, that's where my passion goes, is working in the unit, with the family, because you can't teach the child unless the parent has the education, right? And so it's a joint family unit. So, we're looking at in some of the other businesses and stuff that I do is maybe moving some things into a 501c. We're looking at retreat centers. Nicole and I have spoken about that, to where you can educate on every level and aspect of life to make a difference in every single generation, right? And to retrieve out of that. So, you touch my heart when you say, what you're looking to is to help educate these kids and give them an opportunity that they wouldn't have before.
And when I said
And
our
that's
goal,
special.
and when I said our goal is for this campaign is to sponsor 1,000 children, that's just the beginning, because the ultimate vision, myself and my partner, we have is to help 1 billion people worldwide. So that is just this not even the start. That just getting warmed up.
Well, you got to start somewhere, and you start with that
Absolutely.
number, and then that multiplies and multiplies, and it multiplies in huge amounts, that
Totally.
1,000 turns into 100,000, that 100,000 turns into 1 million, that million turns into 1 billion, and it is about humanity, and it's about unity. And I have to be grateful for 2020, which segued everyone into separation, but it created a unity that's become global that wasn't present prior to. that. So I am grateful that that happened. I'm over it. Right? It's time to get back to, everything else. But you can't go back to what was prior to, but the new beginnings and the new things going forward, but really understanding and again, discovering what the truth is. And that's not always what we're being taught or informed about. So to really find truth, again, it's like Nicole said, let's go within. And so, as far as business is to reach out and to have that education to make a difference in the
Absolutely.
lives of the unit. So,
Absolutely. And another thing is that I just want to add to what you just said, which is perfect, is that things explode exponentially, especially when, 1 + 1 in math is 2, but in real life, especially when you have the same vision, it's not 1 + 1 is not 2, but 11. So three people
right.
come together. It's not 1 + 1 + 1. It's not 3, but 111 because it exponentially explodes. Just like I said last time, not any single individual can change the world by themselves, but if each and every single one of us, we do a little bit in our own small little circle of influence, we can create a ripple effect that's going to be like an unstoppable wave around the world. It's going to change the frequency, the vibration, and energy of this planet. And God knows that right now, that's what this world needs more than ever. It's more positivity, more hope. The whole point of this podcast is not just for me and you to talk, you guys to talk, to share your incredible stories, but to inspire other entrepreneurs. If the fact of us three talking here, we can inspire just one entrepreneur or one person to do good with their business, and that helps one person, and that person goes on to help another person, I would feel beyond fulfilled, and that would be the most amazing thing because that person can go on to help another, inspire another, and that's how, movement starts. When I started this
Exactly.
podcast, my goal was not to start just another podcast because God knows there's, I don't know, a million podcasts out there, but to start a movement of leaders with a heart, enlightened souls. We can all come together, a community, a global community, universal community, because eventually, and I hope that someday I can connect to bring, people from outside of this planet, from,
There you go. We're kind
you
of
know,
into that too, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I will need maybe some guiding and coaching from you guys when I get to that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Call in your angels and guides. If you take action and you share that action on whatever level, spiritually or dimension, other people will take action. So you're paying it forward. And wherever
Absolutely.
you take action, if you're living your passionate purpose and that turns into profit, you can take that profit and put it into a business or putting into service or putting into volunteering. So it's how you do it, whether you do it personally or financially. It's a beautiful thing. And you're recreating that. And each one person that we develop, even in a coaching sense, or each one person that we touch through a speaking event, each one person makes that change and that next person will make that change, right? And it's that growth of paying it forward and taking action. So what can you do even at the smallest, most minute level to change? You're changing the universe.
Exactly. Because it is all energy, as we spoke about, and it ripples. It's like throwing a rock in the water and it just ripples and it keeps on going and going and going and going. Right. So, wow.
Listen, you
Like you
ladies,
said, we could be here for days.
you ladies are phenomenal. We've been exactly 2 hours. We can keep on
Oh
going
my goodness.
for another 2 hours, but we might have to do like a part two in a few weeks, in a few months. But let's
Absolutely.
wrap this up. So
Definitely.
I'm gonna ask you some fun question to finish. Now, imagine you add a time machine and you can go back and meet your 18-year-old self. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to your 18-year-old self, knowing all that you know now? Nicole, go for it.
I'd probably tell my 18-year-old self, hey, get your act together.
Uh,
Don't be that rebel that's going to take you down,
mm,
and but then again, I would probably say she wouldn't listen. So, right?
let her not
So,
listen because that's part of it. That's part of the formation,
yeah. but again, yeah, you can go back and look at that. I could have, should have, whatever. But as we spoke throughout this out this show, is had I not experienced what I did, I would not be here
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
and saying and speaking in the manner in which I am here today,
Mhm.
which has been such a blessing and an honor.
Absolutely. Wow. How about you, Nicole?
Well, my 18-year-old self with a brand new baby, I would really say,
Oh,
you know
yes.
what? That world is your oyster. There is, there's that beauty in that moment, and just recognizing even just that one moment, the strength of what is to become, and the lessons that I would learn, and just bringing that magic at that moment and remembering how beautiful that gift is to birth and create.
Wow. Awesome. Now, you both already are very successful and prolific podcasters. Now, imagine that today on your show, you have the most amazing, the most special guest, which is yourself. What would be the number one question? The first question you would ask yourself on your own podcast. And I don't want you to think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind? So, Beverly, what would be the first question you want to ask yourself on your own show?
Oh my gosh, I'd probably ask myself, what is it you're really doing here?
What's
Right?
your, what's your answer?
The answer would be to do my damnedest to make an impact on humanity.
Love that.
Yeah.
How about you, Nicole?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't even know where to begin. You know, yeah, and I like that. What are you doing here, really?
Mhm.
What is it? What is your focus? What is your drive? And just really that recognition of that I'm in the right place. There is no more personal questioning, but that ability to share that I'm in the right place right now at the right time, in the perfection of what is me, and that I'm tuned in and I'm turned on.
Wow. At what point did you both realize or found out that, hey, this is my path? This is what I'm meant to do?
With the podcast or just with life in
With
general?
life, with the
With life.
direction of your life.
I would say to be where I am in the passion of the healing work and the psychic work and stuff, um, the foundation of having that event to be in that manner of ready to check off the planet and have my kids as my driving force. That was why I got in the marriage and did what I did. So I had that driving force. And then working through the whole anomaly with the automotive industry and learning how to balance my masculine and feminine, then being exposed to the metaphysical world, which was like that answered my prayers, because when I started really studying that avenue, my childhood was clear. It just crystal clear. It's like, well, that's why that happened. Well, that's why I did that. It's like, well, now that makes sense. So everything came full circle for me. So it's like, I'm home and this is where I need to be.
Beautiful.
And I haven't diverted from that. So I've been really on my path of where I am today, right at the beginning of the 90s. And it's just gotten better and better all the time.
And it's only starting.
Yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
exciting part. How about you, Nicole?
For me, that moment of clarity, I think, is every day. I don't have that one defining moment. There have been moments that this is right. There have been clients, or there have been volunteer work, or even in a moment of hospice with a patient at the end of life, to say that there is so much more and what I'm doing is right. So there are many, many moments that would define that, even in that dark night of the soul. And every day is another moment to say, yes, this is right. I'm in the right place.
Love that. And that gives us, when you have that feeling, that gives you almost a feeling of invincibility, because you feel that, hey, now I have a mission, I have a reason to be here, and there's nothing and no one that can stop me. Oh, wow.
She has
Awesome.
become unstoppable, that's for sure. I can remember we're probably 6, 8 months into our relationship, and I told her that she'd be on stages and she'd be doing lives, and she goes, "No, I'm not going to do any of that." And look at her today. She is just shining like her own little star.
That's amazing. And this is just the start. That's the beautiful
It
part. That's the
is.
exciting part.
It is.
Wow. Awesome. So what's the next stage for you guys? The next step.
Whew. The next step, I think, is probably just to make sure that this 360 continues on its mission to change humanity. We're right beside you. Who knows? Maybe we'll end up collaborating together on something,
Would
you
be
know,
amazing. Yes.
and you know, to just really make that difference. You know, really advance with the workshops again, and make a difference in people's lives, you know, to let people know that there is hope, and you're not in it alone. You're not in it alone.
That's the key point. You're not
Absolutely.
alone in that.
Yeah.
Love your mission. Go within so you don't go without. Be the best you can be. That really sums it up. Listen, we can be on for hours and hours, but we'll definitely do a part two. Maybe we could even do a podcast, the three of us. You know, who knows? That could be
Hey, you
something
know what? We just might do that.
that could be
Absolutely.
in the cards. You never know. So anyway, so if someone wants to connect with you guys, what's the best way to do so?
You know, go to the website, sabotagesmasher.com, or they can find us anywhere. I'm under Nicole Borghi, or Instagram, Facebook, Sabotage Smasher, or just Nicole Borghi, and Google it. But Beverly's the same. She's under beverlyzeimet.com.
Okay.
And it's easy to find us. You can
Yeah,
Google
you can
us.
Google my name, and you're going to find a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
We're in the Webernet of things. Absolutely.
yeah,
Awesome.
all over
Phenomenal.
social media, you know. So
And
we're there.
what's the name of your
Yeah.
podcast again?
360 Wisdom Speaks.
Wow, love that.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got to talk about your books, because you guys are authors, you're speakers, you're energy workers, life workers.
We'll save that for part two, right?
That's part two. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure.
This has just been totally awesome.
If you want, do you want to mention the name of your book so I can put them on the show notes?
Let's see.
You
The
have too
Power
many?
Formula, the
Sorry?
Heart Mind Connection, the
Say-
Power Formula,
Okay. Wait.
Heart Mind Connection. And then I've got an essential oil book out, Essential Oils Made Easy.
Okay.
And it shares all the different oils and the elements, and how to actually, you know, the art of smelling and the art of blending.
Wow.
And then I've got another one. Which side of the fence are you on?
So you have the books, you have the podcast, and the next logical step would be a documentary or a movie.
Sure, I'm game.
Absolutely.
I don't know, Beverly. Is the world ready for that?
I don't know. Are they? It would definitely be a legacy to the end, wouldn't it?
Yep. There you go. Amazing.
I actually know some movie people, so who knows? Maybe we could connect you guys together, and when you're ready, let me know. We could rock it.
Awesome.
Hey, there's no,
Awesome.
never say no. Always say
absolutely.
yes and figure out how to do it. So the answer is
Absolutely.
yes.
All right, listen.
Awesome.
We can talk for hours. Beverly, Nicole, you guys, I salute you. You're true, enlightened souls, leader of the heart. Keep shining your beautiful light. Both of you are beacons of hope in this world. You're blessed. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your work, with your mission. You've been both blessed with tremendous, gifts and a beautiful heart. So keep doing your thing. Keep blessing the world. I salute you. Stay safe. God bless. We'll keep in touch, and have a wonderful day and wonderful weekend and the rest of the life. And again, this is just the start for you guys, for
Yes,
all of
it
us.
is.
That's the most exciting thing. Take care. Have a wonderful day.
Namaste.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.